Hi, everyone.
Welcome, Rafael. Welcome.
Hello, everybody.
Let's
How's
talk
everybody doing?
immigration. Yeah.
Let's do it.
Good.
I'm in the bushes today.
I like that.
Be careful. Watch out for bugs.
I need to bring in some kind of greenery into my office. The days have been gray in Chicago. I don't know if that's why I'm wearing gray. Like it's just been no sunlight for days now.
The great thing about this plant is it's evergreen because it's made out of plastic, so it'll never die. I don't need light.
Good brand. Good brand.
All right, where do we want to start? Curtis has some things to say about the CBS article that infuriated him this morning. So
yes, let's start with that. Also, I want to experiment with something and see if we can live stream also to our Telegram channel. And it appears that it's just live streaming me. It's not live streaming everybody. So that's not working. So I'm going to stop that.
Sorry, Telegram.
Sorry, Telegram. It's weird. Like 7 people showed up fast, though. So we're going to still experiment with that in the future. So Rafael mentioned that I'm upset about CBS, and it's not CBS so much as the State Department feeding them a bucket of lies. So the story this morning is legal immigration to the U.S. rebounds from pandemic drop in visa approvals. So you would think that would mean nothing to see here. We can now move on to prioritizing non-immigrant visas. The journalist, Camilo Montoya Gavas, I've worked with him before, good journalist. But I think that Julie Stuff with the State Department has misled him a little bit. So let me see here. I'm going to share this article with you all in the chat here in case anybody's interested in it. But it's also in my Twitter feed today because I rebutted it. The main thing I want to say about it is this. I won't talk about it for like the whole hour or anything. There's no question that the Biden administration has moved heaven and earth recently to reduce tourist and student visa wait times. Julie Stuff herself on December 1st did a video about that where she bragged about all the things that they've done. And sometimes the wait time is only like 7 days in some places for student visas. But that came at a cost for family-based immigrant visa applicants who our firm represents. And we can't pretend like the visa backlog is gone before it's gone. And so this rush to prioritize tourists and students when there are so many separated families, U.S. citizens and green card holders have been waiting for their spouses for like 2 to 5 years. That's unacceptable. So anybody want to add anything to that?
No, right? I mean, there's a lot of numbers in there, but one number that they don't seem to touch on is that the wait time that United States citizens and legal permanent residents are waiting for their families, right? They don't really talk much about that. And not only about the time they're waiting for the families, but the time that from which they should have been eligible to immigrate to the United States. It's concerning that there's not two sides of the coin there on this article.
Well, and she's noted that the immigrant visa backlog reduced by 30%. I don't know what she's using as her baseline. I think she's playing with numbers because it's 21% over the last fiscal year. It's not 30%. And then the second thing is the visa bulletin is not moving because they are not issuing the allotted number of family preference visas.
Right.
And like she bragged about how, look, they issued 157,000 of the 226. Well, that's not good. That's 67,000 families. that are these applicants that were family preference that should have been issued in the last fiscal year that didn't come. And so, yeah, I think I'm done venting all about this article.
And there's no other way to say it. I mean, it is a numbers game to them. It's not, they need to realize that there's no other way to explain it. It's economics for them. It was the bounce back as far as the economy post-COVID. They try to explain it any other way, but it's for that reason.
Right.
Yeah, and it's very painful that to them it's a numbers game when there's, as you said, thousands, tens of thousands of families, real individuals, real harm, real hardship that tends to get lost in the numbers game.
There's something happening in the background here. The U.S. Travel Association is lobbying hard, the press, the White House, everyone, to increase the number of tourist visas, because that's really important to their members, the hotels and the hospitality industry. And I get that, but we can do both things, and them pretending like we only need to do this one is really annoying me. So
yeah, that's fair.
Look for me on, I think, Newsy in the next couple of days. I'm interviewed on this subject. So, Carolina, did you have something about Title 42?
Well, I don't know if, the segue is kind of interesting that you mentioned these, not employment-based visas, but visas with financial implications. There's Congress heard arguments this week on the EAGLE Act, which is the Equal Access to Green Cards for Legal Employment Act. And this is supposed to be a monumental bill that is proposing a couple of things that has been extremely contentious, so much so that we're actually not sure whether or not they have had an official vote on the EAGLE Act. We were just discussing whether a decision's been made or not, but it essentially targets three things. It increases per country caps on family-based immigrant visas by this number that they're very proud of, from 7% to 15%. But that's a very small portion of the EAGLE Act. The majority of it is, it focuses on employment-based immigrant visas. It aims to eliminate per country caps for employment-based immigrant visas. And it also changes the requirements related to employment-based visas to make it easier. So there's some talk of family-based immigrant visas, but the EAGLE Act is primarily employment-based. It's even in the name of the act. So they are trying to talk and make the family-based immigrant visa situation better, but it's almost a pawn for them at this point. It seems almost pretextual. So
right.
So as far as I learned, I could be wrong, but I thought proceedings were postponed because it was so contentious on the floor. Rafael seems to have some intel on that, so hopefully
well, I got some misinformation that they had a vote. I thought I read that they voted.
Like he has a plug on the floor or something.
But they have, it appears that they have not voted yet. But I don't know if they voted or not, but it appeared from what
they took some voice vote, which is always just ridiculous that we're doing those kinds of things in 2022. But yeah, we'll see. It's an ongoing issue.
One thing I thought would have came up before the vote is where would the retrogression in employment-based visas gone? Would it have been 7 years pending? Is it going to be 10 years pending? Wouldn't that? I feel like that should have been at the forefront of the debate as what exactly will the effect be of the bill, right? Where are we going to have where's going to be the priority date? But we haven't heard that at all.
Nope. Because it sounds good on paper, these kinds of things to promise them. So,
right. But I guess the retort to that would be that it would be the same as every other. It will be the same for all immigrants. So the date will be the same. So whatever date it is, it will be the same for all immigrants or something to that effect.
Right. But that comes at a price for, say, an Iranian engineer who is the next in 10,000, 100,000 applicants from India or China that once that country cap is taken away, get in front of him. So it does do some harm in that it changes.
We don't now believe that there is a line.
Protocol. Well, there's a
This
line in
dreaded
that
line.
And then there's not a line, and then there's lines.
after
But-
your DQ. There's
There's
a line.
sublines.
There's not a line. So anyway, I think that there's a potential for it to pass, but really, if they wanted it to pass, they need to accommodate these categories that they're doing harm. And they've attempted with little fixes, but they didn't really consult enough with the people that practice in those spaces. But the other employment-based visa applicants that are already in queue, the harm that it's going to do to them if they figure out a way, and it's really hard how to do that without more visas.
Yeah.
So I see why it's contentious. I see that.
Yes, both on the floor and on Twitter. It is a very contentious subject.
It's more contentious on Twitter, I think.
Guaranteed.
We'll see.
Yeah. If it does pass the House, I think the debate in the Senate will get really crazy. I think the closer it gets, I think there's a lot of interests at play here. Financial interests of attorneys, financial interests of hospitals, and obviously employment and employers. Mm-hmm. And then you
the
have
tech industry.
The tech industry.
Tech industry is huge. Yep.
You have the children of these EB-5 these potential people who have been waiting on H-1B1s and are pending employment-based visas that also have an interest in seeing it passed. I think there's a lot of tension there. There's a lot of high hopes that it will pass so that they can get a path to, I guess, citizenship and residency here in the United States after waiting so long. So I can understand why it's going to get really, really heated really fast if it does pass the House. I think we're going to see it get really crazy.
There's some speculation on Twitter that the reason that immigration attorneys like ourselves have reservations about the EAGLE Act is because we're bathing in $7 billion of fees from H-1B renewals.
Well, there's certainly some large interests that do that, and they're the large firms that handle those H-1Bs that probably have a financial interest in it. We are not one of those firms, though, for sure.
I was trying to estimate it, Rafael. How many of those billions has Morrison Urena taken in this year?
I wanted just one, but we didn't seem to make it.
I think we have to round down to zero.
I think we have to round down to zero.
It's not a dollar.
But there's definitely some attorneys who profit off of employment visas that may not profit off of employment-based visas quickly if the EAGLE Act passes, right? Because if you're looking at significant delays of 7 years to even become current, they're going to be less inclined to even file those petitions as well. So I can understand. I mean, there has to be some transparency that there is a financial interest. Some attorneys think. Probably.
Yeah, and that part across the board, the transparency where there is a financial interest. Just say that.
Right. But I would say the tech industry's lobbying on this dwarfs what attorneys lobby. Mm-hmm. And their interest is a little more sinister. They probably enjoy having H-1B indentured employees because a lot of the reasons these employees want green cards is so they can bail. They've been trapped in these positions.
Yeah, didn't the tech industry come out backing the bill?
They lie.
Yeah, they didn't. Well, they publicly backed the bill, but perhaps they have some lobbying going on against it.
The tech industry term, it sounds like the media, like just so vast and so enormous, different positions at that point.
Yeah, who are we talking about? Right.
Yeah.
Any other news things before we jump into questions?
I mean, I've been personally bringing up Title 42 whenever you have me as a guest, so I figured let's have some continuity simply because there was some news coming out today from DHS, which is just very much like them to be putting out these updates that are touting very like innovative approaches and look at all the things that we're doing to fix this very broken immigration system and all that. But at the end of the day, the tone that I read from their update is still very anti-immigrant, especially with asylum seekers. I mean, there's this ongoing, it almost seems like a vendetta against asylum seekers and trying to vilify them in this narrative. And it really, there's no other way to put it. It really disgusts me to see these kinds of updates from DHS trying to sound positive about these transit bans that they're proposing that are very similar to Stephen Miller's ban that we all know from 2019 was horrendous. So they are trying to have this propaganda essentially to make them seem like they're trying to fix a system and then at the same time say, but these are circumstances beyond our control. The Congress needs to fix this. So in the end, I'm very disappointed because it does sound like the direction that DHS is going in is very similar to the Trump administration's direction under Stephen Miller. So I am concerned to see DHS is going in is very similar to the Trump administration's direction under Stephen Miller. So I am concerned to see DHS is going in is very similar to the Trump administration's
I'm sorry.
direction under Stephen Miller.
I did that.
I was like, oh no.
Rafael, do you have Telegram open? Sorry.
I do not.
I did that.
I was like, oh no.
Rafael, do you have Telegram open? Sorry. Catalina, do you have Telegram open?
I do not.
Okay, I pushed quit on Telegram, so let me not hear myself anymore. And I think we're live streaming on Telegram.
Oh,
that's great. Hello, Telegram. Sorry for the interference there.
Unless me quitting it just
closed it. We're going to get those kinks worked out on Telegram. If we can get that working, we're going to reach a very
because people in Telegram want to hear us too.
No, yeah, that's fair. You can also find us on YouTube and where else? Twitter, Facebook. But yes, we will try to figure out the kinks with Telegram. But
right.
Anyway.
So we've been seeing these like images from the board. This Title 42 thing, I think, is going to be the hot topic as we get closer to election. I think they're after this end of this lame duck and when we go into the new Congress, I think the investigations into the Department of Homeland Security Secretary Mayorkas is going to heat up. I think they're preparing to impeach him, or at least have a vote on the impeachment.
Mm-hmm.
I think an impeachment only needs a majority in the House, right? And then we'll have a trial in the Senate. And I think this is going to be a really big push to end asylum as we know it in the United States, because one side of the debate believes that it's ripe for fraud, and that people can manipulate the system to enter the United States and work here and then essentially stay here for large amounts of times with that by manipulating the system. The other side thinks that there should be a healthy system that allows people to make their applications and to do so in a humane way that doesn't involve staying in detention facilities and which are akin to prison for long periods of time. So I think that's going to be the center of the immigration debate over the next 2 years. And we're going to see a lot of images from the border that make things appear to be out of control, and to appear to and they're going to demonize those individuals that appear in those videos at the border, and they're going to call them criminals and vagrants and moochers. And I think things are going to get really, really nasty, really, really quickly, and then over the next two years. And I think the front runners on the Republican side of the presidential for the race for president are going to be willing to traffic in those xenophobic ideas. We saw that. I think the clear front runner now is the Florida Senator DeSantis, and we've seen him do some pretty nasty things, sending immigrants to Martha's Vineyard and trying to, just using them as pawns. And I think he's going to be willing.
Smuggling. I mean, essentially, he was smuggling them. It felt like it was human trafficking.
Right. So at the very least, he treated people very badly in a very nasty way, and he manipulated them for his own reason, for his own interests. So I think that's going to be what we see, where we see Title 42. Is Title 42 going to be codified as the status quo, or are we going to do away with it and go back to our old immigration system? But with controlling the House, controlling the Senate, Democrats may be able to push back, but I think that's going to be the center of the debate on immigration over the next few years. So we'll see Title 42 is here, going to stick around as a talking point for the foreseeable future.
Definitely. And we'll definitely be following it. It does have huge implications. Our firm does asylum work. So we do see the effects of these kinds of policies, dangerous policies for that matter. And it's interesting that you mentioned how this Title 42, the future of Title 42 is also affecting asylum law as we know it. We've already seen attempts of DHS trying to rewrite what asylum means. They tried to have this parole program, I think it was in October, where it was offering humanitarian parole to Venezuelans if they were in Venezuela, but if they were at the southwest border, then they were denied entry. So they're trying to change what it means to be an asylum seeker. Just to remind everyone watching, to claim asylum, you have to be in the United States to have a right to asylum. But it doesn't matter how you entered the United States. You still have a right to claim asylum if you can do so within a year of arriving here. DHS is essentially trying to change what that means. Yes, go ahead, Curtis.
You're muted, Curtis.
You're on mute, Curtis. Sorry.
Sorry. You have a right to make application for asylum. I think I would make that distinction because,
yes.
What is it? 60 or 70% of the people that attempt to get asylum in the U.S., that asylum is denied. So understand those thinking about seeking asylum in the U.S. It's not a particularly easy journey.
No. And especially not even just the application process, but it also is a testament to just how difficult it is to get here. It speaks to the situation that they're escaping, the persecution that they're escaping from. So then have to come here to go through this arduous process, very, very complicated application to the end be denied. There's something wrong. Clearly something needs to be changed. But also something interesting that came out of DHS's update today was they were so proud of these training programs that they're going to be putting their asylum officers through, and how if anyone qualifies for the Convention Against Torture Act, certainly let them in, which is important to make a distinction from asylum. The CAT is a higher bar than asylum. And please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it does not have a path to citizenship or legal permanent residency if you have entered on the basis of the Convention Against Torture Act.
If you've been granted withholding or protection under the Convention Against Torture Act, you do not have a path to a green card. So that has to come from at least through the relief of withholding. Yeah, you unlike asylum, which after 1 year of asylum, you can apply for adjustment of status and get your green card. So different paths.
But yeah, we will see how Title 42 moves along. I will not be holding my breath for Mayorkas to be making any positive changes. We're
not getting too many questions today from the audience. So if anybody has a question, this is an easy way to get your question answered. You don't have
submit questions on YouTube or Facebook comments. I don't know how to do it on Telegram yet. I don't know if that's possible. Maybe someday. but we could knock out the ones that are there. Justice pour les deux. I forgot 2021. Con la suite.
Bien vendu.
I think you're asking about the good luck case. We're waiting for the appeal. I can't say that in French. Be patient. Oh, well,
Sounds legit to me.
our moderator. That's not in French, moderator.
Pull up Google Translate real quick. Duolingo, where are you?
Yeah. James says, good evening. I'm James from Liberia. Hello. Good evening,
Hey.
James. Anna says, thank you. Hoping to wait for good news in the next few days. All my family's hopes rest on TV 2021. Annis, there's no reason to believe, unless you know something I don't, that we will get an answer on the appeal in the next few days. But if we do, you're my new friend.
Got a question here from Amar. I'm a green card holder. I applied for my wife and 2 kids, and the case has been processed by National Visa Center. We are waiting for an interview in Khartoum since 2021. Any hope that this will be over soon? No, there is no hope that, we don't have reason to believe that Khartoum is going to begin to process cases at a higher rate than they have been over the last 2 years since the pandemic really began. We've been following Khartoum, and they've been doing poorly on the processing of family-based visas there. It may be worthwhile to speak about it to an immigration attorney about trying to find out if you can get processing at another post.
What was that?
Not on my end.
What does
It's
that mean?
completely on my end, but it's coming through the ceiling.
That's probably not good.
Yeah.
But
This
they
is
didn't-
New York living. It's always a little loud. It's very hard to find quiet spot in New York living.
So he applied for his wife and 2 kids. So they're F2A, right?
Correct.
This is extremely sad, but there were 0 F2As. There's 1 FX, which is an old F2A. That means that the spouse has been married. They've been married for a few years or something. There were 0 F2As issued in October from Khartoum. 0 DVs also. Khartoum is not our favorite embassy right now. So anyway, sorry to share that bad news. Let's go to the next question.
Yeah. Okay. We got a question here from Thomasina. How long does an adjustment of status take for a person who's over 21 through an immediate relative? I don't understand the question very well. Adjustment of status you have to be eligible for the visa category or eligible for the visa that you seek. So if you filed an adjustment of status and you're eligible for that visa, it's taking between 12 and 18 months, I believe, for an adjustment of status to be adjudicated.
If you start from scratch, you want to file a petition, an I-130 petition at the same time you file the adjustment of status. But I don't know if that's your situation because you're not telling us where the person is located.
Right, or the visa category either. So it's
immediate relative, so we know it's IR 1 or 5, right?
Right, it's ambiguous there. I
It
don't
might
know.
mean something else by immediate family.
I was going to say I've seen that often used incorrectly, interchangeably with direct family members. Even though your sibling is your immediate relative, they aren't your immediate relative for purposes of immigration. So there's nuances to that term.
Good correction. Oh, sorry. Here you want.
No problem. I'm a DV 2021. I have moved from Germany to Great Britain. Will it affect me should we win the appeal? I don't believe it will affect you per se, that it would be damaging to you, but you may have, if you selected Germany or Frankfurt for your adjudication, I believe it's Frankfurt, right? The embassy in Germany for the adjudication of your diversity visa. I think you may still have to go to Frankfurt, but to get from Great Britain to Frankfurt would probably be a $75 Ryanair flight. So I don't think it would be too bad for you to get to that post.
We have definitely seen worse transits than that. That would be
Doesn't-
best case scenario for us.
Right. He doesn't mention that he's a good luck plaintiff, so I assume he's wanting to benefit from a Ray visa, right?
Right. Well, either way, he's going to be eligible should we win for a visa to be adjudicated if he was in Frankfurt at the time of DV 2021.
If he was waiting on Frankfurt before, right? Yeah. I agree.
Okay, let's go to the next question.
Cool.
Emmanuel, I'm an F1 student doing my master's program in biostatistics. Very smart person, Emmanuel. Biostatistics. I couldn't even do not biostatistics. My mother is a U.S. citizen, and she filed my I-130 on July 22. Still waiting for it to be confirmed. What do you think will happen? Well, Emmanuel, I don't know your age, if you're over 21 or under 21, but if you ask, right. I saw a 12-year-old playing football the other day in an under 12 football league, and he had facial hair, so that was the big sports news of whether
my godson. I don't even want to get to it. He's like barely 13. I'm like, what is happening?
What do I think will happen? I think it's going depending on your visa category. If you are a immediate relative, that should take about between 12 to 18 months for them to approve. If you're over the age of 21, it may take a little bit longer for that to be approved. So it's difficult to say what will happen without more input or more details. But I'm assuming you're asking how long that would take to be adjudicated. This question for Curtis. Saad asks, how is the group case for the delay in the Islamabad embassy's IR1 category progressing? I saw we had some news come out on that case yesterday. Very, very well written preliminary injunction brief filed. Very detailed and had some great graphs and really turned the head of the government's arguments in Sonny and Santos and Wilson on its head, right? About the immediate relatives being a priority. So I'll let Curtis talk a little bit about where that case is at.
Yeah, so basically this is a case that's an opportunity for us to file, because in all of our cases that we filed for DVs and family preference categories over the last 2 years, all we've heard from the government is we can't take care of those categories because we have to take care of spouses of U.S. citizens. And so the Naveed versus Blinken lawsuit is an opportunity for us to take 10 U.S. citizens who are seeking visas for their Pakistani spouses that have been DQ'd for over a year and say, oh, really? Now's your chance. Do your thing. Show us. And what's funny is in their arguments in the past, they've actually convinced judges to make law that supports us in this case. Judge Kogan, for example, in the Eastern District of New York, said in one of his cases, it's clear that Congress wanted immediate family members prioritized, right? So I was able to use that in this injunction. We were able to use that. Okay, so updates. We filed the motion for preliminary injunction. Today, the attorney that was assigned by the government is Michelle Ramos. We know her well. We have experience with her. Rafael's litigated against her thoroughly. Did you actually meet her in DC?
Don't say meet. We kind of like locked eyes in like a death stare right before we argued before the court.
As opposing counsel will do.
Right. I shouldn't say this in a recorded place, but I'm going to anyway. She made math mistakes in the good luck summary judgment briefing that could cost the government thousands of visas. Okay. So I was not disappointed to find out that she was assigned to this case.
Yes. And I have to say the government attorneys in that case were a sad-looking group of a bunch there at that hearings. Plaintiff's counsel was a lot happier. So
It's too bad cameras aren't allowed in those things.
I need to get a sketch of the sad group of government attorneys arguing against immigrants and their dreams.
Yeah, we only heard the sadness from coming from them.
Yeah.
So Ms. Ramos emailed me today seeking to consolidate the briefing schedules for our motion for preliminary injunction with their forthcoming motion to dismiss, which is procedurally the way the government, that's what they usually do. And I have not answered her yet. I was going to talk to Rafael first. I talked to all the plaintiffs and they seem to like trust us to do what we think is best. So we'll see what's next there.
Right. Okay. So we'll move on. That's the news. I'm sure Curtis will share the brief.
I have a question right here. Oh, yeah, it's shared on our website.
So yeah, go to the website and you can read it.
I redacted all the personal stories of the plaintiffs. So how many good luck plaintiffs are in Liberia? James, you've asked this so many times. I looked it up. It's 147 good luck plaintiffs are from Liberia, and that makes up 1.7% of the good luck plaintiffs.
Okay. Why does the American system today still refuse not interested in DB 2021 and DB 2020? I think the American system is very interested in it. I think there's litigation going on. The government is very opposed to it. I don't know if they're not interested. But I think the reason that they oppose it is that they believe that if this case is successful beyond the end of the year of selection, right, that they will open up to this to be a recurring theme in future cases to kind of right the wrongs. And they just want it. They don't want diversity visa cases to continue past the end of the year, and they want it to end and die, and then whatever happens, and they can do whatever they want as long as they know that they make it to October 1 of the next year, and then whatever they did in the past year goes away. So I think that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to preserve the executive branch or the president and the State Department's authority to do whatever they want and get to October 1 and move on.
Agreed.
Perfectly said.
Okay. Emmanuel has came back with some more details. How long do you and it's how long do you think it'll take to get my green card? Well, if you're an F1 and you are over the age of 21, I believe the waiting time of a United States citizen on F1 is 6 to 7 years. I don't know the exact bulletin, so it's going to take 6 to 7 years for you to be current. So at the very least, it'll take the time for F1 to be current. You can look at the visa bulletin.
January one hasn't come out just yet, but December is out, yes.
Yeah, so look at the December bulletin and look at the F1, and I'll tell you the exact time.
Yeah. And you're trying to confuse us because you are both the F1 immigrant visa category and the F1 non-immigrant visa category. So you go to final action dates. We don't know your country, but assuming it's not China, India, or Mexico, or Philippines, it's 8 years. Rafael, I think you said 6, right?
Yeah, it says 6 to 7 years. So what is it, up to 8 now?
It's 8.
8.
That's what happens when the visa bulletin doesn't move.
Yeah.
It's further and further. So.
Okay. Nebraska Service Center. All the service centers are horrible places to have I-130s approved. Unfortunately, that's where all the I-130s go. So it's probably going to stay there for a while.
Yep.
But there's no harm to him because his petition's not current anyway, and it's tied to his priority date.
Right. Yeah. The problem is, though, if you have a mother applying for an older child, if your mother is older, there's a risk that if she passes away before the visa, you may lose your opportunity to come to the United States. So there's the risk. But then and so you're not really protected by CISPA. You're over the age of 21 anyways. But if you do have derivatives and you're unmarried and have children, there may be a benefit for it waiting longer if those children are 21. It doesn't seem like you're quite in that position because you look like a young man in the annual. I don't know if you have 21-year-old children. So just some nuance in wait times of whether they can be beneficial for you or not.
Mm-hmm.
I wish we could bring James in to answer Ann's question.
Is it that question about how many good luck plaintiffs from a certain country important? I don't know really if it's important or not.
I think it is to the extent that
there was
there's a finite number of reserved visas for good luck, 6,914. It could increase. It's up to Judge Mehta. But since there's a finite number, they may disappear quickly, and a U.S. embassy that has a lot of them could be at a disadvantage. I think Morocco's in that situation, actually. Casablanca.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of good luck plaintiffs that are assigned there. Cairo, there's a few embassies like that where it's possible they're at a disadvantage for that, but maybe not, because that embassy might crank.
Right. That's what I was going to say. I think what's more advantageous is that we've seen in DB 2022, it wasn't the number of visas that were at a particular post, it's whether that the embassy was committed to adjudicating those. So if there's 191 good luck plaintiffs, that may not be as important as whether Liberia is committed to adjudicating the visas that are there. Mm-hmm. That's what I think is really going to be important, is whether an embassy or not is committed to adjudicating visas. That's going to probably be the most important thing. Now, is it going to, how many plaintiffs or how many visas are there? Of course, that may play into it to some extent, but I think the most important thing is whether your embassy is committed to adjudicating those prior visas.
Agree.
Yes, I think Ike has a question here. I was in Germany but joined the good luck lawsuit. Can I also benefit from the Ray lawsuit win under the current orders as they are currently crafted? The answer is yes.
But you only get one visa, so.
Yeah, you can't get a good luck visa and can't get a Ray visa also, even though the State Department has created different visa categories for each.
Maybe you can. I don't know what you would do that for, but.
No, I don't know if you would get them, but I would be very confused if I was the consular officer and deciding which and then I'd be even more confused if I was a layman trying to figure that out on the form.
Definitely. A lot of letters in there.
So that's all the questions, unless somebody has a last minute one they want to slip on to Facebook or YouTube. Did you have any parting things to say, Rafael?
No, but I'm just really excited that I think we're getting closer and closer to an appeal decision in Good Luck and Ray and Gomez. I'm really excited about that. And I'm really still confident that we're going to prevail on that case. And we're going to do it's going to get really, really exciting really fast, but hopefully it comes soon. I know everybody's very, very anxious. And particularly for DB 2020, they've been waiting a really, really, really long time.
Right. This question was posted somewhere. Is there any information on what's going on with family-based immigration visas in general? And it looks like they're really curious about family preference category visas, like F2As that have been DQ'd for a year or more, even though the category is current. This is a particular problem at certain embassies, like Khartoum or Islamabad or Abu Dhabi or Ankara. Rafael, you want to start on that? Or?
F2A I-130s track have been, it seems like the wait time is getting longer and longer on those. I've seen in the Facebook groups that I'm part of and the Telegram groups I'm a part of, it seems like there's more and more angst around that. And it's particularly troubling because they are, for the most part, current. So as soon as they get an approval, they can get in line for an immigrant visa interview. But we have remedies for that, and that is a mandamus lawsuit. If you hit a year I think that's good cause for an unreasonable delay action. So you should contact our office about that, and we can speak about some strategies in which we can get an adjudication and get you in for an immigrant visa quickly, so you can be reunited with either your spouse or your minor children, which are nuclear families and deserve to be together very quickly and not wait around for years. I think that's per se unreasonable when you keep somebody away from their young children and their wife or husband or spouse for that amount of time.
I love to consult on that subject. So.
Right. Sounds good, guys. I think that's all we got for today.
Awesome. Great talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I want to speak in this last question. I'm sorry.
Let's do it.
If somebody assigned a cartoon and they say, what are the options they have for their family, and what embassies do process family cases? So Amara is right. There is another option besides mandamus, and it's to see if another embassy will interview you. It's arduous. We represent people to do this process, actually, if you want to hire us to do it, because it's going to, but it's still going to take a lot of your energy, because you need to identify the countries that your family has mobility to travel to. And if they can establish residence in those countries or even physical presence, that will greatly help our ability to transfer the cases to those countries. As you know, Amar, there's 200 countries. I can't talk about all of them right now, but if it's a country without a backlog like Barbados or San Salvador, or Muscat, that's very helpful. I put out a tweet that asked people to say, what countries can you get legal residence at, about a week ago? And I received, or maybe this weekend, I received all this information I didn't know. Have you all heard of nomad visas? Like, there's countries now that will give you a work visa where you can go and live there and work, even though you're working remote. That can be kind of a clever way. Get a nomad visa to a country. So you have a residence visa to this country. Go there, and then, or what? Actually, even before you go there, after you get the visa, let us or your attorney know, and we'll see if we can transfer you. So that's one way. The mandamus is the other way. But the country you can transfer to depends upon the passports of the. I don't know how powerful a Sudanese passport is. What countries you can visit and get a visa to. I don't know that question.
There's also considering there are some countries that have agreements with other countries where they don't need a visa to get there. So figure out if your home country has those kinds of arrangements with any other kind of country that would have an embassy with a low backlog. There's a lot of steps to this. It is, as Curtis said, pretty arduous, and there are a lot of moving parts that you want to look at, but it is an option.
I can do a quick answer on this. It's recapture of DV 2021 and Eagle Act. Recapture of DV 2020 and 2021 case are in what's called the Ming 1 Amendment, which small chance of it getting in the omnibus bill, but not if we talk about it. It's not an Eagle Act. It's not related to the Eagle Act.
All right, guys.
So
we did it.
Call it a day.
Call it a day.
I would say see you all next Wednesday, but if you are Farsi speaking and you want to join us for our Farsi Q&A.
It's Monday, right?
That is Monday at 11:30 my time, different time in Tehran. You can see that on our Telegram or Twitter, YouTube, whatever.
And I'll be missing next week because I'll be in flight. So
okay.
See you guys the week after that.
Okay. Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.
As the sun says, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.